Right. Amy, I am honored and privileged to talk with you because I've been a huge fan of your work for the last couple of years. And to hear you've done some stuff that I had never even heard of before or recently found out, it just blows me away because I felt like for a long time, we needed more female action heroes. And I feel like you're at the top of the chain when it comes to that because of all the hard work you've done. So I'm really excited to be talking with you today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. I've seen, the video you put together on YouTube of some of my work, and it was very inspiring. And things like that kind of help keep me inspired and pushing forward. And I agree, there always needs to be more females in action. So I'm happy to be talking about it and talking with you here.
That's awesome. So, how did this all begin? I know that your dad trained you in martial arts. Your dad was a kickboxing champion back in the day, and I used to watch a lot of kickboxing. I remember seeing, I think I saw a few of his fights back in the day,
Oh,
and he was amazing. Like his kicks were just like amazing, like awesome. And I remember, I think his nickname was the foot slinging kid at one point. I think I heard something along
yes.
the lines of that.
Yes.
So,
Very good memory. Yes.
what age did you start training with your dad in martial arts, and what were the styles that you studied?
Yeah, so since it was such a big way of life for him, he was a fighter and then he taught fighters and he had martial arts school. And so I was really just kind of brought up in that environment. And so for me, that's all I really knew. I don't know if I ever had a choice. I just loved it. I loved being around the fighters. I loved being around other active kids and my dad teaching me things and watching movies about action. It was just a huge part of my life. My mom, studied Tai Chi in China because she's an acupuncturist, and my brother was in martial arts, and it was just everything. So I was always running around in class, and I was at the martial arts school, but I would say that I took it seriously around like six. I started competing more and working out with the older adults and being a little bit more competitive with it and really kind of focusing on it more. So yeah, I'd say six, long time ago.
And what styles did you study?
Yeah, so it's called the progressive system, and it's a style which includes a lot of different arts, such as karate, kempo, scrim arnis, and jujitsu, kickboxing, kung fu and shaolin, a blend of a lot of things, which I particularly enjoy. So, kind of get to the concept of learning a bunch of things and molding it to whatever best suits you and your body, and um, that kind of thing.
That's amazing. As a kid growing up and doing all these martial arts, were you a huge fan of watching martial arts movies as a kid with the family?
Yes. Yes, I was definitely a huge fan of watching martial arts films. We didn't really watch any Oscar-worthy films. It was always like just action films. And I had a lot of catching up to do as an actress. But I loved all the Bruce Lee and the Jackie Chan and the Cynthia Rothrock, and I loved Michelle Yeoh. I still do, and Angela Mao and Chang Pei, and I watched like the Kung Paos and the Pootie Tang, even like anything action was just
That
was our
that's
thing.
that's just like me. When I was a kid,
Yeah.
I used to rent at my parents used to always rent at the video store, and they would always get me like a kung fu movie or an American martial arts film like Norachito. I used to watch like Norachito Surrender.
Oh
Um,
wow.
those old kung fu flicks like the Five Deadly Venoms, and so
Yes.
I grew up with that whole thing. Of course, the Bruce Lees, the Jackie Chans, Gordon
Heck
Liu.
yeah.
I didn't really get into Jet Li till like my later teens. Like that's when I
Hmm.
really started watching his films, and then it inspired me to study Hong Kong cinema when I was a film studies major. So I was like, I knew I
Oh.
get ready. I was like, I gotta get ready to watch more of this stuff. So I it
Oh,
got me.
that's so cool. What's your just real quick, what's like kind of your all-time favorite Kung Fu film, or which was the one that kind of like set you forward into that inspirational route?
I will tell you, I'll definitely have to say Fist of Fury because I feel like it's the most copied martial arts
Mm,
film. Where it's
mm,
like everyone's done so many Chinese versus Japanese films. I know the Chinese Boxer was like the first one, but Fist of Fury I think was more towards the mainstream audience, and all of a sudden everyone started doing Chinese versus Japanese, and then finally when I saw Heroes of the East by Lau Kar-leung, that
hmm.
changed everything because it wasn't your typical. it was a Chinese versus Japan, but he showed a respect for all those forms of martial arts because no one dies in that movie. If like it's a sign of respect between the Chinese and Japanese martial arts. So after seeing that, I realized there's hope. There's actually hope for this
Yeah,
genre. Like you don't need to kill people all the time. You can have
very
this
nice.
effect.
And then we have today where every film is, everybody's dying and blood is squirting everywhere. It's a little
Yeah.
different now.
Yes, it is. It's still a little different. What were some of your favorites growing up? Like what some of your favorite martial arts movies?
Yeah. I like what you mentioned. For me, really, the thing that kind of pushed me forward was Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, because it was at an age where I was kind of capable of like deciding what I wanted to do in the future, and it really just struck a nerve with me. I watched Michelle Yeoh, and I say this in all my interviews, and I hope I get to like work with her one day, but she really just kind of made everything make sense for me as a female in the martial arts, surrounded by a bunch of men, but still being feminine, feminine and strong, not like overdoing the strength of a woman and trying to be like a man, but being a woman in strength. So I would say that film definitely was the thing that made sense for me.
Yeah, I remember watching Yes, Madam with Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock, and that was a movie that I felt was the start of the Guns with Girls genre. In my
Yes,
opinion, everyone keeps
yes,
saying, "Oh, it's Iron Angels." No, I was like, "It's Yes, Madam," because
that was a
Michelle
good
Yeoh
one.
and Cynthia Rothrock both kicked serious butt against all these stunt guys, and they were a date that was like a trendsetter for me,
Yes,
and
yes,
that today to this day it's still one of my favorite movies to watch,
yeah, that's
especially
a very good one. And to see
especially
those two together on the screen, huh?
I'd love to see something like that again. We need more of that. Like
I
people,
agree. I agree. And I think there's like, definitely a movement of women in films and women in action films in that role. It's different, Now it's like they train the actress and they get a few shots of them looking cool, ending a pose, right? And
yeah,
then they cut to the stunt performer doing everything. And I know Michelle Yeoh and Cynthia Rothrock, of course, had stunt performers, but they did a lot of that. Like they were very, very talented. They put a lot of hard work into it, and you can see. So, I'm pushing for things like that. I'm always trying to create real martial arts in those positions and projects that kind of hit home in the sense of familiarity from, the films that you and I both really love.
so how did you decide to get into the movie industry? I know you mentioned Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but how
Yeah.
did you decide you want to break into the entertainment industry as a, to do what you're doing now? Like how did
Yeah.
that all
Yeah. So I did like theater and I was a dancer and I did gymnastics and I was always adventuring and exploring and jumping off of my trailer with my brother with our little umbrellas, which did not work. It was Wyoming and it was windy, so it would just like fling us back into the house. And I just liked adventure and experience, and I liked characters, and I don't know, I was just interested in performing. Like I just loved performing, and so I guess it was the only thing that made sense. Like for me as a martial artist, putting all that time and dedication into one thing for so long was like, okay, I can get a scholarship as a martial artist, so I can become a teacher, and maybe I'll do that later in life. But I really wanted to put it on camera, and my dad, my brother, and I would make like fake movie fight scenes. We would recreate them and film them, and there's nothing better, like for me, to create and express through martial arts. And so it's really the only thing that made sense, and I would have regretted it if I didn't try. So
That's awesome. What was your
yeah.
first major job and what was that like?
So I did a lot of odd jobs before I got anything substantial. Like it's hard out here. And I didn't, know anybody and I didn't have money and a lot of Craigslist jobs. But the first time I was ever like on a SAG production was probably like 4 years after I moved out. And this guy named Danny Wayne, he was a stunt coordinator. He saw some of my YouTube videos of things that I would film with friends, and he brought me in to like see if I could, ride a wire. And do wire work and do stunts. And he got me my first job on a Disney show. It's called Pair of Kings. And I got a double character and I got to be a character and then I was SAG, Sometimes it just takes one person to see the hard work that you put in and help you out because it's such a hard industry to break into. So it was Para Kings Disney show.
That's awesome. And I did read that you did Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and
I did.
you were one of the stunt doubles for Black Widow.
Yes,
And
I
I remember
was.
I read the article about what the stunt was, and literally right before this interview, I watched the scene, and I'm thinking, all right, where is this? And I caught it, and I'm like, I know exactly where it was now. What was that like on the set of that movie? Because that's one of my favorite all-time Marvel movies, right there.
Yeah, me too. And I think the action was done so well. The movie in general was really good, but like one of the things I always look back on for that film is how the Russo brothers allowed the stunt team to really design things based off what we wanted, and then they just filmed it exactly how we filmed it and pre-visualized it for them, which is like, breaking down the scenes and filming it with characters and all the things and editing it and sending it to them. And they really just allowed us to like explore and do what we thought was right. And they trusted us and they put that on screen. And I think, in times like that, when you just trust the people around you, a lot of times, if you have talented people, it works well. So I always attribute a lot of the fight scenes looking good to kind of them allowing trust. But that was a really cool set to be on. Scarlett Johansson was very down to earth, you know. It's always nice when you meet people and they're actually like real people and
Yeah.
kind. Um, yeah, I learned a lot. It was my first big like, you know, stunt doubling job where I was on it for I don't know, 5 months or something. So it was in the dog pen with a lot of people who've been there for a long time. So I had a lot to learn.
And it looks like you learned it. And now let's talk about Lady Bloodfight because that was one of your first major films in a lead role. And I remember for so long I heard like you were doing this Bloodsport like remake, and Bloodsport's one of my favorite movies. I'm glad that they did a female version of it. And want to know what was the experience like doing that film?
That's a very close to my heart film because it was my first thing, like you said, as a leading actress, and it was in, Hong Kong, and I got to go train with some of the best stuntmen there. And so that was like a dream come true. In my mind, I'm like, going to China and training with the best and going on this adventure. And it was just everything about it was lovely, stressful, difficult, frustrating, and a lot of other things. But overall, it was a really good experience. I'm proud of it. A lot of things I wish I would have done better, but it was a really good start, and I learned a lot. So
Yeah, I gotta say, the fight coordinator Ying Zhong is one of my favorites because I
yeah,
remember from
he's amazing.
Once Upon a Time in China, he did the Musketeer, which I
He's
don't, people
yeah,
don't like that movie. I love the Musketeer. I loved his fight designs on that film. I love
yeah,
watching
he's
that Hong
great.
Kong style with the swashbuckling. But here
Yeah.
he got to work with all you guys on the fight scenes, and you know, was there a difference between working like the Hong Kong style of like? Do you prefer the Hong Kong style of action or the action that you're doing
Yeah.
today?
Yeah. So actually, Hong Yuan did get to kind of like action design one of the fight scenes. A lot of times it was the director filming all the fights, and Hong Yan would, train the actors and create the fight scenes. And they had to kind of figure out the flow of what they both wanted. But Hung Yan did get to kind of action direct one of the scenes, and it was a scene where I'm kind of like walking through Hong Kong when I first get there, and there's like laundry being hung dry, and a bunch of guys come up to me and tell me they're going to help me find something, and that was kind of action directed by Hung Yan, and it's definitely a different style. I prefer a lot of times the Hong Kong style of like really taking care of each moment in the fight, and not rushing through anything, and taking your time, and seeing wider shots of the performers do things. But I guess it just depends on the type of film. But typically, I prefer the Hong Kong, and I'm assuming you probably do too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's more hype. It's more hyper. I know they use undercranking, and sometimes the fight might look ridiculous sped up, but it's still the way the techniques are flowing. I mean, that's what's important in a fight scene. I
Yeah,
remember
I agree.
Jason Statham said it's like a dance.
Yes.
When he did the
Yeah.
transporter, he's saying that a fight is a dance. You got to get the choreography right, and you got to get that rhythm.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's what it was.
Yes,
That's
that's
totally it.
exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And you have to have a good dance partner, and you have to trust each other, and you have to really have it rehearsed and locked down. And the camera is also part of the dance. 100%.
Yep. And then
Yep.
you've done other films like Female Fight Club is another one that you worked with Dolph Lundgren on that film, and he's a legend. Dolph is an
Yeah.
absolute action legend. What was it like working with him on that film?
Yeah, he's cool. I was excited and looking forward to working with him. I only got to work with him for a couple of days, I think. Mainly one day where he was holding some mitts with me. A lot of the other times it was just, me on set or him on set because we had to like figure out our schedules. But that one or 2 days that I got to work with him and work on some pads was pretty cool. He's tall, he's got a strong presence. He was nice, so hopefully more in the future.
He's got that karate background, so helps
Yeah.
too. And
Yeah.
and then one thing I liked about Lady Bloodfight and Fight Club was your character because it's now going around. It's now becoming a trend. Back in the '80s, we had the indestructible actions, action hero. They were like virtually indestructible. They can't get hurt. They're
Right.
big and tough. They're tough. Now we're getting more human action heroes in terms of
Right.
they got flaws, they have issues. They're put in the situations where they have to fight. And I feel like, it's not like they didn't fight because they want to, or, they got to be big and strong and, go through a whole army and stuff. We're now getting ones who have problems like PTSD, from,
Hmm.
and I think
Hmm.
that's very important now with today's action genre. I like seeing the flaws in these action heroes because it makes it more human and I think and more
You're right.
realistic.
Right. I completely agree. And especially because everybody's kind of, well, I feel like, it's oversaturated with superhero films right now where everybody gets hit really hard and they just come back and that's fine. But I think it's also, like you said, more human and more relatable to have some problems and, deal with things as they come and have some struggles and, that hero's journey, of course.
And one of the short films you did, or short was supposed to be a web series, Dragon Ball Z, which I'm
Yeah.
impressed weren't the Light of Hope. You played Android 18, and you did a
Hmm.
phenomenal job on that.
Thank
And
you.
I got to talk. I've known Fabian and Lohan for I used to converse with them back in the day
Oh,
when they did
cool.
Jedi fighting. So I want to know from you, what was it like working with them on Dragon Ball Z when you played Android 18?
I love them. I love them so much. I think they're so talented and they're so wonderful. And I hope to work with them more. We've been planning to make some films together. It's just hard to get everything perfect and get it done. But I really like them a lot and they're very talented and they did great work on that. And overall, I think, when you have people on a project, especially something of like Dragon Ball Z, where everybody actually cares and knows the characters and is passionate, like I think you can make something really good. We weren't there for a paycheck. Um, so, it was a really fun set to be on.
And just for the record, I am putting this out. If they ever do a big live action Dragon Ball Z movie and not Dragon Ball Evolution, because I'm not even going to talk about that movie, but you were perfect casting for Android 18. Like they couldn't have found anyone better to play that role.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I like that character a lot and I want to, explore more with that. So it's fun to kind of like take a character from animation or something that and twist it in a way that like people still care about it, but you don't overdo it, you don't underdo it. It's like a weird balance. So I like
Right.
playing with that kind of stuff.
Now we just got to find who's going to play Krillin to your Android 18. That's all
I
we need to
know.
find
That's
next.
always the question. Yeah,
Now
that'd be
let's
fun.
talk about one of the best roles you've ever played, and it's the one right behind me, Jane the Ripper, Accident
Oh,
Man. I absolutely love this movie. I mean, it's one of my favorites, and I've always been a Scott Adkins fan for forever. Well, since he bursted onto the scene, I got to know what was it like working with Scott on these films. Not just the action part, but even the scene where you're at the bar and you just chug a beer down like it's nothing. Like what was that? That had to be like
that was fun. Yeah, I mean, I had also, looked up to Scott for a long time, and I'm inspired by him and his trajectory of his career and how he gets so much done, and he just doesn't stop. He really takes advantage of each moment, and so I was really looking forward to working with him, and obviously being in a fight with him. But I was really impressed with him overall as like a creator. He was, a producer. He had co-written that film and he was kind of directing some of the action and he was, doing a great job acting. I think that's one of his best roles personally. Like I loved him
Oh
for
yeah.
that character. And so seeing him do all of that and handle it with grace was really cool. And obviously fighting him, he's a great dancer, so we had good timing. There's a lot of things we wanted to film more of, but the lighting was one-sided, so we couldn't reverse a lot of shots. We couldn't get different angles, which was kind of frustrating. So we want to do many more things in the future and kind of, play a little bit more with our skill sets and working together. But overall, awesome experience.
Yeah, that fight between you and Scott was awesome. I like the way that you even got to use like wrestling moves in it
Yeah.
in the arsenal, not just the kicks, but like the way you just did a lot of stuff you see in WWE. And was that the idea of like the Tin Man? Was that the idea of Tin Man and Scott Adkins, or did you have any input in that particular fight scene?
Actually, like the fight was completely filmed and ready to go with because Tim Man had put it together and Scott, and then they just showed it to me and we rehearsed it for a couple hours or whatever. I learned it, but I did have a few things that I changed. But overall, Tim Man's choreography and Scott's stuff is so good that like you don't really want to touch that.
Right.
Um, it was really well balanced, I thought, with like, ground game and falls and stunts and kicks and back and forth. It was really well balanced. So it was all them really.
Did you get to see the second one? Did you see that?
Yeah.
That
Yes,
was
it was good. It was
that was
really good.
that was amazing. That sequel
Yeah.
was awesome. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that
And
they almost one upped on the fights. I think they kind of did one up on the fights
I
because
know. I
they had a
know.
really good stunt team on that one with George Kirby
Yes.
and
Yeah. They
Andy
did great.
Long.
Yep.
I mean, wow.
Yeah. I've been wanting to work with him for a while. Yeah, Scott was telling me I was doing an interview thing with him on his Art of Podcast show, and
Yeah,
he was saying like that the second one might be better than the first, and that's such a rare thing, but it might be better. It's really good.
it
The
is.
fights are great. Like it's Andy's fight, him and Andy, that was amazing.
Yeah,
So yeah,
and
really good.
even yeah, the fight scenes in that one were just like insane. And
Yeah.
where else are you gonna see Scott face a killer clown with a big cinder block?
That's great. It was so entertaining. I want more films like that, like the action comedy, the entertainment, the just nonsense. It's very fun, and I think the directors just killed it in the best way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what's next for you that you can talk about? Because I know you got a lot of more going on with the stunt industry
Yeah.
and so
Yeah. So I guess I'm always working in video games. I work a lot in video games as like a motion capture and stunts and acting, and so that's always consistent. And then I've been
oh
stunt
yeah,
doubling.
I looked at
Yeah.
that and my son is like he's played Uncharted and The Last of Us. Those are like two of his favorite
Yeah.
games.
Those are
And
great games.
I saw your name doing the motion
Yeah.
capture. So
Yeah.
what's that like? What exactly do you do like the actual characters in the game and doing
Yeah.
like
So d
your so yeah,
yeah, definitely.
what's that process like?
Yeah. So it depends on the game, but I'm really grateful. I've been a part of the motion capture like industry for I don't know 7 years now, but it's nonstop for me. There's only a handful of people that work in the industry consistently, and so it's just really nonstop. It's amazing though. You get to go into like a little onesie outfit with a bunch of reflective balls all over you, and you go in this room with a bunch of cameras surrounding you, and those cameras pick up the reflection off your balls and it off your reflective balls, and that shows your movement. And a lot of times you can see it in real time, like the character that they put over your skeleton. And it's so cool. Like I love being a part of that. It's mainly just improv all day and play, and I get to pretend I'm a baby and an elephant and a zombie and a whatever. So it's really a good place to flex my acting. Um, so that's really cool. So I'm involved in a lot of games, and then I've been stunt doubling J-Lo on a lot of things, and I have some acting films that are coming out. And I just booked a really cool role that I can't talk about that I started filming last year, and it's really nonstop. So I'm very grateful, and I'm always working on trying to create like the action action hero that I want to see on camera. So I want to do some more directing and creation and producing and just kind of take control a little bit more of what exactly I want to see on screen, you know? So
Yeah,
I'm very busy.
I think with your skill set, I could definitely see you as a fight choreographer. I could
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
can see that.
Yeah, I've done that, definitely. I've done that a lot in past and for video games and for multiple things for many years, but I want to more direct as well. So I can create the film in the way that I want and have it finalized in the way that I want. You know, so many times I've put so much work into things and it gets cut out or the movie never comes out or things happen and I just want to have a little more control over things.
And now you also have a book out about the stunt industry. You could plug that out. What you
Sure.
tell us a bit about the book and
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
called it's called How to Stunt in Hollywood. And it's on Amazon in all forms. And the concept is just that so many people always ask me what the craziest stunt is or what kind of shape I need to be in to be a stunt woman, or they want to know more about it. Or, you know, newer stunt people are trying to get into the industry and it's really difficult. And so I basically interviewed and spoke to like, I don't remember, maybe 25 professionals in the industry of directors and stunt coordinators and things. And um, you know, help provide information from them to the public for people who are interested or, you know, or just want to be entertained by that. But, you know, I hope it's helpful to people who are looking for that kind of direction
That's
or just
awesome.
inspiration. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I hope everyone gets to still see more of your work. I can't wait to see more of you in front of the screen, kicking some major butt. And I hope you do get another project with Scott Adkins because that would
We're
be
working on it.
phenomenal. And
Yeah.
you get to do more. You get, like you mentioned, you want to see that female action star on screen. I hope that finally does come true soon because we need more people. We need more female action heroes, especially with the skill sets of someone like you, or or Cynthia Rothrock, or Michelle
Yeah.
Yeoh.
Yeah.
I feel like you can lead the next this new generation. I feel like if anyone can lead it at this point, it's got to be you, hands down.
Thank
That's
you.
how I feel.
Thank you. I plan on it. I'm working on it. I promise.
Well, I hope everyone's a great thing. Amy, thank you so much again for talking about it. I had pleasure to talk with you, and this is great. Thank you so much.
Same. Same. It's been really nice. It's been really nice to speak with you.
All right. Well, everyone take care, and we'll see you next time.